Welcome to Down to Business with V, a show dedicated to bringing you actionable information to help protect you, your families, your businesses, and the community. I'm your host V, and today we're bringing you the rise of wealthy women and how to protect ourselves. We've called in a CEO, wealth manager, and co-founder of an investment platform to share her insight on the issue and offer solutions. And as always, we'll share what to do if you're a victim of fraud. Stay tuned for that and more. Let's get down to business. From Atlanta, Georgia, to becoming a United States Marine, to Washington, D.C., and every place in between, everybody calls me V. My goal is to bring you resources, education, and knowledge from sources you can trust that informs and protects to safeguard our families, our businesses, and the community. Now let's get down to business. Welcome to Down to Business with V. I'm your host V, and today we're discussing the rise of wealthy women and how to protect ourselves. We have in the studio with us via Zoom, Jenna Biancavilla, CEO and co-founder of Savvy. Jenna is an entrepreneur, wealth advisor, and public speaker whose life mission is to positively impact the lives of others. As the founder and CEO of Pearl Capital Management, a holistic fee-only fiduciary financial planning firm, she advises on $150 million of assets under management. Jenna also leads the Arcadia team of Geneva Financial, a home loan company powered by humans, showcasing her versatility and expertise in different facets of the financial industry. In her newest venture, Savvy, co-founded with her sister, Jenna aims to create a platform that protects women and their wealth by weeding out predatory salespeople. Here's my interview with Jenna. Welcome, Jenna. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, V.
I am ecstatic. So tell us a little bit about you, your background in financial services, your platform Savvy, and how you're helping women to invest their wealth.
Well, I've always been a bit of a math nerd. So that is how I ended up here. Math nerd that loves people. I got into financial services in the 2008, 2009 banking crisis. And apparently decided I loved it so much that I was going to make a career out of this. And it was not an easy start during that crisis. As a low person on the totem pole during that period of time, I got a lot of difficult phone calls that I had to navigate through. But I spent my first 7 years in the large institutions on the broker-dealer commission-based side of the financial services industry. And then I got involved with the Financial Planning Association, learned how other people were doing things, and realized you didn't need to charge your clients commissions to have a successful practice and to actually take care of them. There were better ways. There were the ability to open a registered investment advisory fiduciary advisor practice, which is what I ended up doing. In late 2015, early 2016, I opened up Pearl Capital Management with this vision of just taking care of clients and not having to answer to big banks and looking at profit-driven culture and quotas and all of that, and just take care of clients and be a true fiduciary. And so I made a name for myself in the Phoenix community as this safe place where people could go and trust that they were going to get good advice and to really just be taken care of. And then through that, I started getting all of these referrals of people who had been the victims of fraud. And I thought it was just me. I thought it was just this safe place I have created at Pearl Capital Management. But then I started researching and I found that this is actually a pretty big problem. Specifically, 1 in 4 women, about 25% of women, will be the victim of fraud at some point in time in their life. And I just couldn't sit idly by. I knew I couldn't scale Pearl Capital Management big enough for me to really solve this at a global scale. So I partnered with my sister, whose career is in technology, and we created a finance technology company so that we can actually scale this to solve this problem at a national scale. So the The fintech company is called Savvy, and it exists solely to solve that problem, to vet out all of the bad actors and have a strong financial advisor vetting process and connect women with people they can trust. And we do that for free for the women to make sure that this is a platform to let them vote with their dollars, that they don't want those bad actors, that they don't want those commission-driven sales guys, that they really want someone that they can trust. And we can change the world through capitalism, through voting with our dollars and not through regulation, because thus far the regulations haven't worked too well.
Yeah, good point. And congratulations on your very full career and the launch of Savvy. I'm very excited about what you're doing there. Let me ask, you talked about that it's free, a free service. Is there an entry point, a minimum amount of dollars that a woman would want to or need to invest or be willing to invest to speak with advisors? Is there any type of barrier to entry there?
Not at all. We take all walks of investment advisors and all walks of different experts. And so we might have a financial consultant or maybe even a debt consultant for someone who's still getting out of debt and not ready to actually invest anything at all yet. So we're putting different experts on the platform so that we can introduce women to someone who is exactly what they need at exactly that time. So no minimums at all, free to use, and we do all of the vetting on the experts for you.
I love that, Jenna. I love that, and I vote yes. We're talking today about the rise of wealthy women. I found this to be very interesting, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this. We both are women of means. Tell me what this trend looks like from a wealth advisor's perspective. What are you seeing, and what's going on that's causing this increase in wealth amongst women?
Well, all of the work that all of the women before us have done to give us a voice, to be paid equal wages, all of that is paying off. So we are riding on the coattails of many women who came before us, and women are becoming more and more often the breadwinners of their household, and they are earning reasonable salaries, and they are leading companies. Additionally, our baby boomers are aging, and that's where most of the wealth in America sits, is with the baby boomers. And as they continue to age, women most likely are going to outlive their husbands, and they will be taking on the majority of that wealth. And then when the baby boomers pass, and there will be also their daughters who are inheriting that money. And so over the next 10 years, it is known that women will become the majority wealth owners of America. So we should be going from we've been down in the 30 to 40%, and it is planned, or it is tracked to go up to about 60% of wealth will be held by women within the next 10 years. But what is a scary statistic that goes along with that is 94% of women will be in charge of their finances at some point in time in their life. So chances are at some point in your life, you will be running your family finances. But only 28% of women say that they feel empowered to take action and take control of their finances. So we have this big gap where women have been brought up that the man will just take care of their finances, but they are coming into control. So I'm really passionate about empowering those women because they will be managing their finances at some point in their lifetime. And they need to make sure that they have the tools to do so.
Absolutely. And I love that, when we talk about the generational forecasting of how this wealth will be transferred, not only transferred, but how women are able to generate their own wealth. It's just very interesting to see that generational progression and how, like you said, what women did before, women and men did before to ensure that there was equal pay and equal rights for women has now paid off, so that you and I and our sisters alongside us can, be in a position where we've got to manage our own wealth, and then some of them scratch their heads about what to do with it. So that's a good position to be in. So Jenna, you talked about a statistic that I think it's 25% of women will be in a position where they are defrauded in some way. Talk to us more about that, how that happens, and how Savvy is a solution for that as well.
Well, if you go back to that statistic I gave you, where not many women feel empowered to manage their own finances, but they most likely will be in control, They fall into this place where they never took the time to care or learn about finances, and now it's on their lap, and they're just looking for someone to help them. And they're not getting second opinions. They usually, that someone is kind of in this senior authority position. He talks down to her. It's usually a male advisor and a female who just says, "Oh, I don't know, and I feel dumb, and I don't want to ask dumb questions, so I will just trust him." And it might look like an unsuitable investment. It might look like an investment that is just fraudulent entirely, or something that's just not in their best interest. And that's how women end up in that place where they're more likely to be the victim of fraud, because they never sat in that position of power before, and they trusted those advisors, and no one taught them to ask for a second opinion, to push back on some of those people who seem like they're in that authority position as an advisor.
Yeah, and you said that Savvy, you've got a wide range of professionals that are there that can help with that. And you know, like you said, it's doesn't matter what end of the spectrum they're on, whether it's the debt, clearing the debt, and preparing to invest future wealth, or you know, with the wealth that they have, they've come into. Either on their own or from some other means. But very interesting, the perspective of they're looking at an authority figure and trusting versus getting a second opinion. Let me ask you, when you're getting a second opinion about your wealth, we know about when you go to the doctor, how you get a second opinion. Empower women today on what that looks like when you have to tell your wealth advisor, hey, let me get a second opinion on this. And let's talk about the process that a woman can take in that situation to protect herself and her wealth and know that she's making the best investment decision.
Well, I love that doctor analogy, because just as we know that if you needed heart surgery, you wouldn't go to a brain surgeon, right? You've never operated on a heart before. I don't want you touching my heart. You have your own category that you are specialized in. Advisors are the same. They have specialties. And so you might just be talking to the wrong specialist. It's not as apparent because we understand our different body parts and our anatomy a lot better than we understand our different finances. But that metaphor where if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you're talking to an advisor who only has a hammer in their toolkit, they're only selling you one product. And that might not be the best fit for you. So realizing that, getting multiple different opinions, hearing what different advisors might be suggesting, and then comparing and contrasting, asking a lot of questions about fees. Most advisors offer free consultations. So it doesn't cost you any money. It costs you a little bit of time to go around and get a couple consultations and make sure you're getting advice that actually works for you. Because if you need heart surgery, find a heart surgeon.
Yeah, great advice. Well, when we come back, we will talk more with Jenna about what this rise of wealth is with women, how we can protect it, and how we can avoid being victims of scams. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Down to Business with V. I'm your host, V, and today we are talking with Jenna Biancavilla. She is a wealth advisor, a tech platform owner, and she is well-versed in fraud. So we're going to be talking with her today about some of the trends that are happening in fraud, as well as how you can spot it and not become a victim. So Jenna, thank you for being back with us. We certainly do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So Jenna, we talked a little bit earlier about you being a trusted source in your community, and somehow getting fraud victims that came to you, kind of with their hearts on their sleeves, told you their story, and were looking for your trusted advice. You just said it a little bit ago off camera that you are trained to spot it. So I salute you on that as another fraud mitigation, specialist. Expert. But here's what I want to know. We're going to be talking about some cases. I want to know your trained eye, your trained expertise on identifying these fraud trends. So we've got a couple of cases that we got from the FBI, and these are already convicted criminals. So we're going to be talking about what they did, and then your trained eye on what they did, what the red flags were, and how these victims could have spotted it.
I'm looking forward to it.
I was going to say, you up for the challenge? I know you are. All right. So the first one involves a company where a fraudster solicited more than $248 million in investments from over 25,000 individuals. We're counting that number out or saying that number out loud to let people know it's never just you. There's always more than you. But the fraudster marketed an investment platform and promised victims that they would earn passive income through automated investments in a cryptocurrency and forex trading agreement. He guaranteed them high investment returns using a trade secret technology. He falsely represented that they would double their money within 5 months, earn at least 5% weekly on returns using a robo-advisor assisted account. He said that this was a trade secret and he wouldn't share with them what it was. Each week he fraudulently posted returns on the website to deceive investors into believing that they were actually getting an investment on their returns. Instead, he misdirected at least $14,700,000 into his personal bank account and bought a BMW and a Mercedes-Benz for himself. Jenna, tell us some of the red flags you see here.
The first red flag you see is all of these promises and guarantees, and guaranteed 5% per week. That feels too good to be true. If your gut says it feels too good to be true, do a gut check. Usually your gut's pretty right. Anyone who's saying I promise or I guarantee a rate of return on your investment, they're not licensed. And if they are licensed, they're not keeping their licenses for long. You can look an investment advisor up on BrokerCheck. You can see if they're licensed or if they're barred or if there's any complaints. So that's one way to see who is this person selling these investments and guaranteeing rate of returns. Now, sometimes there are private investments, and so you might run across someone who's not on BrokerCheck, but their investments would be on the Edgar database. So that's a different way to do your own research, is go to the Edgar database, look up the investment, see if it's registered. If it's not on the database, they can't be selling this investment in the United States. So those are two easy ways for you to look up something that feels too good to be true. The other thing on there is trade secrets. You need to know what your money's invested in. Usually we use third-party custodians. This is pretty common practice in financial institutions, and regulations are around this after the Bernie Madoff days, because Bernie Madoff was lying about what was in people's investment accounts and sending fake statements. And so we have these new regulations where we have a third-party custodian, a different entity, and this might be Schwab or Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, which I guess just became Schwab, or RBC. There's all these large institutions, and they are a separate party from your financial advisor. They send you statements. They also send the IRS how much income you made, and they make sure that they're a check and balance from that financial advisor. So the fact that we have fake statements, you're not getting statements from that third-party custodian. You have promises or guarantees, and then these trade secrets that you're not getting a statement that says what you actually are invested on. Those all shoot up red flags for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that you threw out the resources that our audience can go to. That's BrokerCheck and the Edgar database, where they can verify who these people are. And tell us each one of those. What's on each one of those databases? BrokerCheck, let's start with there. What can they verify there?
Broker check, and it's also linked to IAPD. So these are very similar. You'll find them linked together when you go there. It's not a problem if an advisor is on one or the other, but that is where you'll find financial advisors if they're licensed, if their license is active, if there are complaints against them. You can find all the information. It's like a report card on financial advisors.
I like that. It's like when you when you check on your lawyer to see if he's barred, disbarred, or has complaints, or
Mm-hmm.
a realtor to ensure that they're licensed and upstanding with the state. So very good. And then Edgar database. What's found there?
So this would be where investments that are not public, so publicly traded investments that are on our stock exchanges, you know how to find those. You can look those up on any Morningstar type investment research. But anything that's not public, how are you supposed to know any information on it? So that's where the non-public investments get listed, and you can go in there and see if they are actually registered. And all they have to the investment company has to do is say, we're exempt from needing to do any filings, but we do exist as an investment. And they put it out there on the SEC's database so that consumers can go and see this as a legitimate investment. A fraudulent person's not going to take the time to tell the SEC, hey, guess what? We're doing a fraud investment. We'll put it right here in your database. So that's a good second way to look things up. So one's for the people, the investment advisors, and the other one's for the private investments.
Love it, love it. Thank you for sharing that. Great resources for our audience. Let's talk a little bit in the last few minutes that we have about the rollover check to the wealth advisor. In our pre-interview, you mentioned how someone was asked to write a rollover check to the wealth advisor. Can you talk to us about that as well, some other do's and don'ts in a situation like this?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And it definitely touches on what I was saying about third-party custodians earlier. So this particular client came to me and said that they were having trouble getting their money from their advisor and that they were writing checks to, call him John Doe. And they kept writing it to my advisor, John Doe. You should never write a check to your investment advisor. That's a sure way to send them on a trip to some beautiful island in a different country that never see them again. So there are all of these checks and balances in place where you're supposed to be sending your money to a verified custodian. And so you probably know these custodian names because they're larger institutions. But let's use Fidelity, for example. You might be working with John Doe at Doe Financial Group, but you're writing your checks and sending your money to Fidelity. Fidelity is your house and John Doe is your investment advisor. So that third party house that sends information to the IRS and sends statements to you, that's such an important part of that process to make sure you don't find yourself in that situation that that client of mine found themselves in, where they just wrote checks directly to the advisor.
Yeah, very interesting. When you mentioned that, I thought, how in the world did that happen? But you made a great point. People don't know what they don't know. How would they know not to do that?
Yes. How would you know not to do that? And I feel like that's kind of my mission here in life is to just start standing on a mountaintop and saying, know this information, know not to send money to your investment advisor directly, know how people are charging fees, know where to look people up on different databases to make sure people are empowered and informed.
Yeah, all excellent advice. In the last 2 minutes that we have, Jenna, if someone has been a victim of investment fraud, what are some action items that they could take to either report or recoup their losses?
Oh, there are so many different ways for you to report this. You would start with the institution and filing a complaint there, but you can also be a whistleblower and go directly to FINRA or the SEC. These are our regulatory bodies, and be a whistleblower on those investment crimes that you are victim of. As I've said, I've worked with countless people who have been the victim of investment crimes or fraud or just not suitable investments, an investment that wasn't right for you. You can still report that as well. And being a whistleblower they do protect you. So you're not going to be out in the public. They'll protect you, they'll protect your identity. There's also whistleblower awards. So I was reading an article about the largest award was just given in May of this year. And the SEC gave a whistleblower award of $279 million. So not only will they work to try to make you whole and get your money back, if you help to take down a Bernie Madoff size scam, there are awards for you. So there's financial incentive. There's also becoming made whole. And then also helping humanity, helping making sure other people don't end up in the same place. You're not alone. There's so many people who've been the victim of these crimes, but if everyone just feels modestly embarrassed and quiet about it, and they don't want to tell everyone, then that same fraudster can attack other people. So for several different reasons, take the time to report it.
Yeah, great advice, Jenna Biancavilla. We are so thankful for you. Big lesson, if you're a victim, speak up. It can not only help yourself, but could help others. Thank you so much for being with us today. We are so grateful for the work you're doing. Kudos to you and your team, and we will see you on the other side of these fraud victims, Jenna.
Thank you, V. It was great being here.
Yes, thank you. If you or someone you know has been a victim of an investment scam, a data breach, account compromise, deep fakes, or digital impersonation fraud, be sure to contact your local police department or contact the FBI at ic3.gov. And be sure to visit our sponsor, Vicar Group LLC, business consultants for Generation U at vicargroup.com for cybersecurity awareness training and other resources to protect you, your family, your businesses, and the community. If you'd like to sponsor the show or be a guest on the show or have show ideas, feel free to contact us at dtbwithv.com. I'd like to thank our crew, Doug, Suzanne, Stephen, Steve, David, Zach, and Jen. We couldn't do the show without you. And I'd like to thank you, our audience, for watching. I'm your host, V. This is Down to Business with V. We'll see you next time.